Hello, my beautiful friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm so grateful to be here with you. So before I get into the video, I want to update you and let you know that I have made the commitment to you that for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be offering a video here on YouTube once a week. And that feels really good. It feels like I'm pregnant with all these ideas, and it's time to really come forward more frequently here in this venue to share with you. So thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe so you can get a notification every time a new video drops. And yeah, okay. So let's get into it. So on the screen here, I am showing a picture of my beloved community. This is the facilitator team from Ordinary Pioneer, which is an intentional healing community that's located in the cornfields of Northwest Ohio. And truly, 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 so much of what I share in this video and in other videos is a direct result of my learning journey in community. One of my favorite authors, Charles Eisenstein, he says, enlightenment is a group project. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And at Ordinary Pioneer, which I will include a link to the Ordinary Pioneer YouTube channel and also our website if you want to check us out. But collectively, we have been using the gift economy, which is a way of funneling finances that is spiritually minded. And we've been using the gift economy for the past few years, and most of our weekly yoga classes and healing gatherings there's no set fee. We invite people to tune into their own heart and to decide what amount of contribution feels good for them. And collectively in our facilitator team, we have just endless and countless conversations about money and finances and how do we run this nonprofit in a way that steps outside normative understandings of finances? And how do we offer a new template for human beings to walk in the world in a way that feels ethically aligned, and also in a way that we can continue to share our gifts? So I just wanted to put that picture up to give a shout out to our community and thank them for a lot of the stuff that I'm about to share here is a direct result of the insights that we've all collectively generated. So do you resist money? And when you see that question, you might initially think, no, why would I resist money? Everybody wants money, right? That would be stupid to resist money. Of course I don't resist money. And before I started contemplating this subject deeper, I probably would have answered that question with a giant no, of course not. But as I started to become more aware of my body's sensations, of my heart, of the subtle energies flowing through this vessel, I started to realize, oh my goodness, I do resist money. And it was a result of that spiritual awakening journey that also included doing lots of research about how, for example, money is created by the government and the systems of inequality that still very much plague our planet, and understandings of the very unethical ways that loans are created. And I started to do research and uncover these really awful, awful things about our society in regards to money. And as I started learning, I also started to uncover and remember other lifetimes. Some people call them past lifetimes. Sometimes I call them past lifetimes, but in truth, time is all now. So these incarnations are not just past, they're still happening now. But that's a whole other subject. But I started remembering these other incarnations. And I started remembering my journey with money. So it's beyond just this lifetime of these experiences, which have shaded and colored the way that I view money. But it goes back, it stems back to other lifetimes in my soul's journey, my soul's evolution. And what I started to realize was, oh my goodness, I have some hang-ups about money that I was not aware of. And this was quite a revelation for me. What I started to see is that I have had many, 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 many incarnations. I could remember these and can still now remember these so viscerally of when I was a monk, a Zen monk, in different Buddhist traditions, when I was a yogi living in a loincloth in a cave, beating on a drum, when I was a nun living in a monastery, when I was a spiritual wanderer, a sadhu, living on the streets of India, living outside of temples on a simple mat on the ground with no possessions except for the robe on my back and a begging bowl. I remember the lifetime of starving myself, of being skin and bones, of trying to convince God that I was okay, doing this intense penance to try to atone for my sins. So all these lifetimes started coming back to me, and this was around the time that I started to study the path of yoga and became a yoga teacher. And as I was remembering these things, I was remembering there was a common theme in all these lifetimes, which is I hated money. I hated it. I hated it because I saw what greed did to people. I saw the unfairness of the money system throughout centuries and centuries and centuries, how people would be pitted against each other, struggling and competing against their brothers and sisters for $1. And it disgusted me. It made me so angry and upset with God, honestly. How could God let, this kind of situation happen on the planet? And so part of my, calling in so many of these lifetimes was to renounce money, to live in a temple, live in a monastery, live in a church, an ashram, in a situation where my entire life would be provided for by the kind donations of other people. And sometimes it wasn't even in a nice cushy ashram. It was living literally, sleeping under the stars. And occasionally someone dropping some rice into my hand. Those lifetimes were very intentional that I stepped away. No, it wasn't stepping away. It was fleeing money, rejecting money completely and wholeheartedly, saying, screw this system. I don't want to have anything to do with it. This is not right. And now, feeling into those lifetimes, I understand where I was coming from. I mean, it is messed up. The whole situation is messed up. We live on a planet of abundance. And if humans could learn to share, nobody would go hungry. Nobody. It's not a problem of lack of resources. It's a problem of distribution. That's always been the problem. So as I started to remember these past lifetimes, I was like, okay, interesting. And I started to think about the fact that although I have always been provided for in this lifetime, this current one is Anya, I've always had worries about money and somehow just had an underlying sense of struggle with money. And I started to realize and tune into my body and notice something very curious. I noticed that whenever people would hand me money for doing my work in the world, so whether that's a Reiki session or a coaching call, or they're buying one of my books, or I'm giving a tarot reading and they're handing me money, handing me a credit card, sending me money through PayPal, depositing money into my bank, giving me money in some way, I started to realize, oh my gosh, I have a subtle tension in my body when they're doing this for me. When they're giving to me, when they're giving me money, I feel slightly uncomfortable. Holy crap, I never noticed that was there before, but that's been there the whole time since I started my career as a spiritual healer, which was roughly about 10 years ago. So I was like, okay, this is here. Why is this here? And I started to think, oh yeah, this is about those other lifetimes. That energy is still present here and now of rejecting money, of hating money, despising money, of saying this is bullshit. I didn't have anything to do with this. So as I was starting to feel this underlying tension in my body, I started to think to myself, wow, is this the reason that I've always kind of lived on the edge financially? So I started to notice these things, wow. And in truth, this is an ongoing healing journey for me. I'm not speaking to you now completely healed. I'm not speaking to you having cracked the code on this by any means. But what I can tell you is that since I started consciously working with the energy of money, I realized that I could release this tension in my body, and I could actively do daily practices where I invite the flow of financial abundance into my heart and dissolve those blocks. And I can say I'm very mindful now that when I accept money from people, I have a heart of gratitude. I have an open channel of reception. And so what I am offering to all of you is releasing that tension, is an invitation to release that tension. My current journey right now is about giving myself permission to open up my mind and dare to dream, dare to envision a greater level of financial ease for myself, and dare to dream owning my own home. So much of what I experience in this lifetime is a hangover from these other lifetimes. And in a sense, if you compare this lifetime with others, I'm doing pretty darn well for myself, financially speaking. I'm a single woman. I don't have rich relatives who help me out. I am fully 100% self-sustaining financially based on just being a spiritual healer and teacher. And in my geographic area of the United States, Northwest Ohio, that's pretty rare. A lot of my colleagues have second jobs, have day jobs, work different jobs just to make ends meet, and they do their healing work on the side. And so I'm blessed to say I'm 100% self-supported as a single woman, fully by these spiritual gifts that I share with the world. So that's great. And I also live inside four walls, which on my own, paying all the bills by myself, which, that's a level of independence, financial abundance that I did not have in other lifetimes. So comparatively, I'm doing pretty good. But there's another level that I'm seeking as well. And that's part of why I wanted to make this video, is just to talk through these issues with you. We're all on this learning journey together. No one of us has it completely figured out. And so part of my intention for this YouTube channel ongoing is for us to create a dialogue together, to learn with each other, to teach each other. So if you are a spiritual healer, teacher, intuitive, and you have any thoughts or techniques about what's helped you on your journey, I'd absolutely love to hear from you in the comments below. Please share with us what you've learned. So when I realized that I had this tension in my body, I started to dig deeper as well into societal conditioning in this lifetime. And I realized that I've been conditioned, like so many of us, to believe that if I'm receiving financial compensation for a task, an activity that I really enjoy doing, that I'm somehow like cheating the system. I started to realize I had a little feeling of guilt or awkwardness. Like, am I doing something wrong? Is this allowed? Right? Because so many of us have been taught that it's socially acceptable and actually proper and good to receive money from work, quote unquote, work. Work means things you don't enjoy doing, right? So we've all got this training of, well, you just got to go and make a paycheck to pay the bills and just kind of, luckily this idea is dying in our culture now. More and more of the young people are like, that's ridiculous. I want to do what I love to do. But it's still prevalent today. This idea of, the things we really love doing, that we shouldn't put a price tag on them. They should just be our hobbies. I still get a lot of people telling me I should do my spiritual work for free. And then I say to them, that's fantastic. I love that idea. However, Spirit is not calling me to go work at Walmart or go work, at the bank down the street or go work in an office. Like, that's not a part of the plan for me. That would be dividing my energy. I want 100, Spirit, the universe, wants 100% of my energy flowing to not only sharing my gifts, but continue self-education, cultivation, many, 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 many hours every week in meditation. And that takes time. And so I do charge for my services. And I'm okay with that. I've come to peace with that. But it was really interesting to notice, so occasionally, let's see, the last time I had a quote, real job, I say real job because that's how some people would put it, was trying to remember the year of this. This was maybe something 6 to 8 years ago. I temporarily got a job at a vegetarian cafe. And I was good friends with the owner and the baker, and I really loved what they were doing. Because in Northwest Ohio, vegetarianism is still not quite caught on yet. And so I wanted to help this business. But at the same time, the work really drained me. I was working in a busy cafe as an energetically sensitive being. It just wasn't quite working for me to wait tables, because sometimes the cafe would get so busy and I'd sometimes be by myself waiting tables and running the register and cooking all at the same time. And it was pretty intense and I felt really rushed. And then at the end of the day, my nervous system felt really jacked up. But I noticed that when I received money from that job at the cafe, I would often feel like I totally deserved the money. Of course I deserve this money. In fact, I deserve a lot more. But yeah, I deserve this money because I worked hard and because at the end of the day, I was exhausted. I was tapped out. It was hard work. And then I realized the contrast of, when I do spiritual services, when I lay my hands on people during Reiki sessions, when I tune into my intuition and read cards for people, when I teach a yoga class, when I lead a bhakti yoga gathering, these kinds of things. And sometimes people would hand me money at the end of it. I would sometimes feel guilty. I shouldn't be getting money for something that I totally just felt ecstatic about doing. That's weird. Again, it felt like it was cheating the system somehow. It left me feeling awkward. So I was like, this is bonkers. That I have this conditioning about feeling weird or guilty or off balance somehow from receiving money from things that I enjoy, that I'm passionate about. I was like, this isn't right. So I've slowly over the years been dissolving that conditioning. It still pops up every now and then, but on the whole, generally speaking, that's not an issue that I deal with anymore. So that was revolutionary. And so I just encourage you, if you're not doing and sharing work in the world that you're truly passionate about, I want to invite you to step into that new chapter in your life, because honestly, I can never go back. And I made the decision. I mean, my life is so much better now, and I know that yours can be as well if you take that leap, and it is a leap. But I made the decision to myself. I forget the timeline. I'm kind of bad with dates and remembering things like that, but it was shortly after I left that cafe job. I made the decision that I would no longer take a job that I wasn't super passionate about. And I've stuck with that. And I sometimes wonder, like, wow, what if, something happens where just people aren't able to pay for sessions anymore? What would I do? And my mind kind of goes into, I'm sticking with that decision that I made. I'm not going to waste. And I want to be like dramatic about it. I don't want to waste my God-given life force energy going to work at a bank, going to work at like a fast food joint, going to work in an office doing some crap that nobody cares about, that I don't care about, and probably most of the other people don't care about, right? Like, that's not the point of life. The point of life is to follow our passions, follow our bliss. Otherwise, why the heck are we here? Why the heck are we here? We are here to fulfill our divine destiny. And I am not saying that I am sure that for some people, their destiny and calling is that spirit guides them to work at these places, like offices or these different jobs that maybe they're not super passionate about, but spirit says, you know what, you're meant to shine the light here. I'll always remember my good friend Carol telling me one time that she went to go buy a used car once, and the used car salesman was like a disciple of Jesus in the truest sense. He was shining the light. He was loving on her so hard. Like, he was just full of light. And she was like, why are you working here? And they had like a candid conversation about it. And he's like, yeah, God called me to be here. So I am. I also remember this other story about a friend who was a friend of a banker on Wall Street. And this banker was a fully awakened being, extremely high level, advanced spiritual being, like on the level of a monk, extremely advanced. And this person was working on Wall Street in the banking industry. And he had a vision from God that he was supposed to bring the light into that very low vibe sector. So I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen, but I'm saying for the majority of us, that's not our calling. And if God shows up in my dreams tonight and says, Anya, go work at the gas station down the street. Okay. Guide me, God. Tell me what to do, for sure. But until then, I'm going to be making YouTube videos. I'm going to be writing books. And I'm going to be sharing coaching and energy healing sessions with people. And that's what I'm meant to do. And I'm so grateful to all of you who financially support this work. I truly am. In particular, my patrons on Patreon, who just believe in this work and just offer me a monthly contribution. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited to start sharing weekly videos with all of you. And sometimes they'll be like this with just voice if I'm feeling like I want to focus the energy through the voice. Sometimes there'll be videos. There'll be all different sorts of things. So let me also know in the comments below what kind of videos you want to see from me. Do you want more guided meditations? Do you want shorter videos? Do you want more interviews? What would you like to see me share? Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you continue to make progress on your journey of releasing the resistance to money, and may the money flow more abundantly and freely into your life for the well-being of all, so that you can more easily and gracefully share your special skills and gifts with the world. I love you all. Namaste.